Good day, everyone, and welcome to our ProTraining technical webinar featuring Patrick Lynch from Bell Laboratories. Before we start, I'd like to review a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. Here's a quick review of what you'll see on your screen. To the left of your screen is the viewer where you see the presentation. To the right is the control panel where you can ask questions. The control panel will collapse automatically when not in use. If you want to keep it open, click the View menu and uncheck the Auto Hide control panel. You have joined this webinar in listen-only mode, which means you are muted. You'll have the opportunity to submit text questions by typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll address them during the Q&A session at the end. Also via the control panel, you can download resource documents our presenter provided by going to the Handouts pane anytime during the webinar. Later today, you'll receive a follow-up email containing the webinar recording. With that, let me introduce you to today's speaker. Patrick Lynch is the Chief Commercial Officer for Bell Laboratories and the President of Bell Sensing Technologies. After completing his MBA from the New York Institute of Technology in 2006, he gained expertise in the rodent control industry, working as a Bell technical representative for the New York and New Jersey region. Patrick currently serves on the National Pest Management Association Board of Directors, is the Vice President of UPFDA's Board of Directors, and also serves on the NPMA's Public Policy Committee, Workforce Development Steering Committee, as well as its Leadership Networking Community Council. So with that, I'm turning it over to Pat to get us started.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's an honor to be here to work with our partner, Veseris. The Veseris team in Canada is second to none, and they just do a wonderful job of representing Bell's products into the marketplace. We're very excited to be here today. Our Director of Sales Central, Sarah Nylans, who covers Veseris and represents Veseris Canada for Bell, does a wonderful job of communicating with the Veseris team across the Canadian market, and with our goal of being to provide you, the Canadian pest management professional, with the best tools to be able to provide your customers with the best rodent control possible. Today, we're going to talk a lot about our IQ product line. I'll spend the first few minutes discussing the products themselves, but what I want to focus the majority of my time today on is discussing how these products can help your business, how they can help your customers, and the solutions that these products provide your business that go above and beyond what a bait station, snap trap, or multiple catch product can provide. That'll get started. And my first slide that I wanted to share is more of a thought-provoking one. And the goal of this slide is to get you to think. And throughout the presentation, I'm going to be talking about snap traps, multiple catch traps, and bait stations that have technology inside the product themselves, and what these products can provide your business, what problems they can solve, what they provide your employees on site, the growth potential that they can provide your business, and the professionalism with which they can provide your business and our industry in Canada. And so looking at this slide, on the left we have our manual Phillips head screwdriver, and on the right we have our Milwaukee power cordless screwdriver. And I spent a lot of time from age 17 to 23 on construction job sites in New York City. I was lucky enough to have a job each summer through junior year of high school through graduating my undergrad, working on construction sites in Manhattan. And one thing I can tell you that you'd find on every single job site is in the corner of a room, you'd find a toolbox with all the manual tools, right? A hammer, hacksaw, Phillips head screwdriver in this case, monkey wrench, channel locks. But that toolbox would likely be closed almost all the time. And that's because all of the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers were all using power tools. Now, these power tools typically cost 150 to 200 times what the manual version costs, but that entire industry made a decision that the efficiency gained, the profitability, the professionalism, and the safety that these technological advances provided was well worth the upfront cost. And I feel as that our industry is at that same precipice today. And because of that, Bell Sensing Technologies has decided to continue our commitment to working with you, our partners, to ensure that everyone has access to technology that provides professionalism, safety, profitability. And a simple question before I go on to the next slide is if your business was entirely based on you successfully employing folks who had to put in 40,000 screws a week, which tool would you choose and why? And we'll kind of talk through why I think that is representative of our product line throughout the presentation today. So here's our full product lineup. We will be launching a new IQ product at Pest World upcoming in Denver in a week and a half. It'll be a mousetrap. So essentially, we will have, starting in Denver in about 10 to 14 days, we will have a complete rodent control product line. So whether you want to snap trap, multiple catch, or use a bait station, you will have a mouse bait station, rat bait station, camouflage bait station in terms of the landscape, a rat snap trap, multiple catch trap, and of course the new mouse trap coming. I'm just going to go through these slides quickly just to show the photos of the products themselves. The Express comes in actually in two varieties, the IQ product. You can purchase the product with the Express IQ tray already in the Express base station itself, or if you have those of you who utilize the Evo Express in the field, and I know there's quite a lot of you, that is our #1 selling product globally, as well as the #1 bait station in North America. So we thank you for that support. So if you have Evo Express at your facilities or customers already, you can simply buy the Express IQ tray, and that tray will contain the battery, the Bluetooth antenna, and the capacitive sensor, which picks up the rodent activity. And you just simply take the old tray out, put the new tray in, and that product is now a fully functioning IQ version. Here you can see that Express tray letting you, the PMP, know what's going on in that station as you approach. We have our landscape, our weighted version. So for those of you who have customers who want that more camouflage look for a bait station, this product is available with the IQ tray inside of it. So essentially, again, if you have the weighted landscape out in the field, you purchase your weighted landscape trays from Veseris, and you put your tray on top of the brick on the inside, and you have a fully functioning bait station. These next two products are standalone bait stations with the IQ technology inside of them. So these products are only available with IQ. So we have our Pulse Rat, which is similar to our Evo Edge station. For those of you who have tried that product, has 4 bait placements as well as the ability to put a snap trap, and again contains the battery, the Bluetooth antenna, and the capacitive sensor right in the runway. So as soon as a rat goes inside, that is timestamped, stored, and signaled out to your phone on site when that occurred, and you know, hey, there's been activity in that bait station. And same thing with the Pulse Mouse. So the Pulse Mouse is just essentially a smaller version of the Pulse Rat, but again, 4 bait placements. You can fit a snap trap inside, and it has all the electronics contained in the product itself. Our #1 selling IQ product thus far is our 24/7 IQ. This is our multiple catch product. It has all the electronics contained inside. And why I believe this is our #1 selling product to date and will remain such for quite a while is because of the nature that these products can provide your business from a time savings and a data perspective. So when you think back to my first slide talking about the manual screwdriver and the power screwdriver, this is probably the easiest one to correlate. So you think of every time your service specialist, technician, or yourself goes out in the field and goes to an account where you might have 10, 20, 50, 100 of these multiple catch devices out. Think about how laborious the process is of bending over, opening every multiple catch trap, and scanning the barcode or providing some type of proof of service to your customer and getting that information. You have to do that every single time, whether or not there's been a mouse caught. And we know from feedback that we've received from our customers throughout the years that typically these traps, if you have 100 out there, maybe 4 to 5 on average will catch a mouse each month. So if you're doing a monthly service, weekly service, bi-weekly, whatever your service level is, think about the amount of times that you're bending over to do that process, and 96, 95 out of 100 times you would not have to actually do that if you had a trap that would tell you and provide you the proof of service through Bluetooth connection that there is no mouse inside of that. So just close your eyes for a moment and think of what that process is like. So checking 100 multiple catch traps today, walking every 25, 30 feet, bending over, opening the trap, and knowing that 95 out of 100 times, you're not going to find a mouse inside of it, but you still have to do that process. Now picture an account where you've purchased these multiple catch devices and you've put them out. Again, there's 100 out there. And now every time you walk within 100 feet of one of these, your phone gets a notification that tells you whether or not there's a mouse inside of it and provides you the timestamp as proof of service. Now you know that 95 of those 100 that you walk by, you got all green check marks in your Bell Sensing app as proof of service, and you have all of that time that you weren't bending over and checking those traps back to do what you want, to do better inspections, to provide better IPM, to provide faster, more efficient service. All of those options are given to you simply by using these products. And then our T-Rex, again, similar to the multiple catch trap in that this product simply tells you whether or not there's been a catch and at what, if there has been a catch, at what time that catch occurred. And all of that data is provided right to your phone on site. So there's the product lineup. Now I want to dive into what exactly these products do. What do they provide? Why should you go to Veseris or call Veseris and order products that are going to cost you more money, right? An Express IQ bait station is going to cost you, double what an Express costs you. Why are you paying for that? A multiple catch trap, a 24/7 IQ is going to cost you, potentially 5 or 6 times what your multiple catch costs you today. Why are you paying for that? What are you getting? What's the value? Those are the questions that we should all be asking as business people, right? It's not about how much each product costs or how much each thing costs. It's about what does that cost and how does it relate to other parts of my business in terms of my growth, in terms of my labor cost, in terms of fuel costs, and recruitment costs with employees. So we believe that this is what you're purchasing. Again, you're not purchasing a multiple catch trap. You're purchasing these 6 things. Okay. So when evaluating whether the investment to purchase IQ products is worth it or not, don't think of, oh, this snap trap I buy today cost me $2 and the snap trap that the gentleman from Bell wants me to purchase costs me $20. why am I spending it? Don't think of it that way. Think of it, how much is time worth to your business? How much is information gathered automatically, data never before known about where rodents are traveling and when? How much is that worth to your business? How much is the happiness of your employees worth? Think about the technician that is working commercial accounts and is interacting with 1,000 multiple catch traps a week. If you asked him or her, would they rather bend over and check and manually see whether there's a mouse inside 960 times, or would they rather take their phone out of their pocket and understand what's going on at their account much, much easier and gather the same amount of information and provide your customer the same amount of protection, right? A multiple catch trap that catches a mouse is providing the same amount of protection whether or not you're checking that trap physically. So again, this goes into both a recruitment cost perspective and labor. Customer satisfaction. Customer being able to have a really nuanced conversation with you about what is going on at their account is valuable, very valuable. If you're able to sit and talk to your customer about exactly when and where they are having any rodent issues, how, more importantly, how your service has improved on their rodent control since you've taken over that account. That ability to have those professional conversations is valuable, and you will retain more customers as a result of it. Safety. There are people far better at statistical analysis than me that are able to compute this, and typically they work in the insurance industry. But every single time that your employee steps on a ladder, that's a cost. And there are people who will break that down for you, because every single time someone steps on a ladder, there's a small percentage that there's something is going to happen to that person as a result. And if so, the less time that your employee is on ladder or interacting with heavy machinery or bending over and going behind some area to check a trap visually, the less time they're doing that, the more safe they are, and the better your insurance rates will be, as well as any injury time. And if you're working and trapping with roof rats, or putting traps for nori rats at height, or putting multiple catch traps in areas where are typically inaccessible to your team, having the ability to check those traps by looking at your phone is a value there. And then finally, the professionalism. Every single time your technician or service specialist checks the traps at these accounts, they automatically get a full report generated and sent to you. You can send it to the customer if you want, whomever you would like. You simply have to type in the email address of the person you want to receive the report. And it details what time they got there, what time they left. It details all of the rodent control devices. It details when those devices were connected to for that proof of service. And all that is done automatically for you. So imagine a scenario where your technician is walking through and checking 100 devices, and they are able to, just by simply hitting finish visit in their app, that report gets sent automatically to you and your customer, knowing that they know instantly, oh, John was here, checked all the traps, and looks like the rodent, we didn't have any rats or mice. Wonderful, that's great. And they have that proof of service. We think there's a high value to that. Another unique way that you can use these products, and unfortunately for our industry, this is becoming more and more necessary, is with a technique we call pulse baiting. So as the regulatory environment continues to go against us in Canada, especially in some of the provinces, it becomes more and more difficult for PMPs to utilize rodenticide, right? and specifically utilize some of the rodenticides that you all have decided to use your entire careers. So one of the ways that we think that we can show as an industry that we are responding to some of these regulatory challenges is with a technique called pulse baiting. So essentially what you have here on the left is Detex blocks placed in a pulse mouse. As the mouse goes inside, that is time stamped and recorded. And now you, the technician, service specialist, know, hey, I know that there was a mouse inside that station. I have proof. Now I'm going to put my rodenticide inside of it. We think that for customers where they want to lessen the amount of pesticides that are placed out, this is a very valuable tool. We also think it's a valuable tool to show the regulatory and legislative bodies that we as an industry are trying to lessen the amount of pesticide that's being put in the environment. And again, using this technology really enables you to do that in an efficient manner. And then you can see that being done with the rat station there with pulse baiting as well. Trapping, talked about this a little bit earlier, but just to kind of reinforce, again, if you're going to be snap trapping effectively, most of the traps are going to be placed in hard to reach areas, right? You know, rats and mice are the second and third most successful species on this planet, right? The house mouse and the nori rat. We're number one, so congratulations. Everyone give yourself a round of applause. But it makes sense that we're number one, right? Because, you know, when we are able to, because of our technology, because of our intellect, and because of our ability to communicate with one another, it makes sense that we would be the quote unquote top species on the planet, right? If a lion's running down the street in the middle of Toronto and Sarah is walking across the street from me and she sees it, she can yell, "Pat," and I can duck out of there. So that's why we're still kind of even above some of the more predatory animals on the globe. But it makes no sense that rats and mice are in the position they're in, right? Other than the fact that they're very good at survival and they're very good at living off the things that we dispose of. They need the things that we need, and they're good at infiltrating areas that we live in. So that's all to say that your job is not easy controlling rodents, and anyone who tells you it is just simply uneducated about the topic, right? So when you want to do effective trapping and effective baiting, you need to be placing these tools in areas where these animals with heightened self-defense mechanisms and heightened survival skills are going to interact with them. And that's going to be at height, that's going to be below heavy machinery, that's going to be in cold, dark areas, that's going to be in areas where there's food, trash, garbage, basically all the areas that we don't want to be in, that's where they're going to be. So placing these traps in those areas is a difficult task. However, it can be made so much simpler by placing them once and then only going to interact with them when you have a verified catch. And that's just a giant value with the IQ products, because again, if you're a technician, and I'm looking through, you know, this time our technician is Sarah, and she's walking through an account and she identifies a hotspot that she thinks for rats, but she knows that for the next 12 months, she's going to be getting up and down on this ladder every time. And she's like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. So perhaps she doesn't put the trap in the most effective place. Whereas if she knows that she's using a product that she's only going to have to check the one time and reset it when she actually catch a rat, which would be exciting. She'll be like, hey, I'm taking care of my customer here. I'm catching these rats and I'm protecting my customer. She's going to be much more inclined to actually put the trap in the place that it needs to be, knowing that she's not going to have to do that process of checking that trap every single time she goes to the account. She's only going to have to check it when there's a catch. There is a value there, and we're going to continue to try and push that development. And then the information that you get that these products generate, you know, the ability to put maps into our portal, to have heat maps for exterior to be able to show your customer when you have your meetings with them exactly what's going on at their account. That information is simply just not available today. And it is available through utilizing IQ and our Bell Sensing Technologies app and portal. We're excited for you all to experience it. Here's one that myself and our Director of Marketing, Kate Van Box, have been working on, and we're very excited about it. There's an IPM conference every 3 years, and they'd asked me to speak on rodent monitoring. And we said, let's really figure out the next few months exactly how IQ products are elevating IPM, kind of essentially IQ equals IPM. If you asked 50 industry experts what IPM is, you'd probably get 50 answers, and and all of them would be correct, but showing what integrated pest management is and figuring out what exactly it is at its core, those are the 5 bullets you see when you do a quick Google search of IPM, right? It's inspection and monitoring, it's identification of species, it's thresholds, it's control measures, and then evaluating those control measures. That's what it's at its core, and those 50 people would answer on some level with all of those. So, how does IQ equal all of these? Well, it certainly does, right? If you're monitoring today without using technology, everything's anecdotal. You don't know what time a rodent was caught in a trap. You don't know what time a mouse went into a multiple catch. You don't know, really how many visits rodents are going into bait stations. You don't know potentially what rodents are in there and what they're doing. You don't know identifying, where the hot spots are, where the heavy activity is, what time of day that's occurring. Most threshold levels are going to be anecdotal, whereas with utilizing technology, you can set real thresholds. You can identify hotspots. You can identify where rodents are coming in and when, and you actually are doing better inspection and monitoring because of the time that the products provide you. Once you implement those control measures, of course, it's very easy to measure and evaluate if they're working because you have the amount of rodent events historically stored in your Bell Sensing portal. And it's very easy to tell very quickly if those rodent events are going up, going down, where they're going up, when they're going down, and what is causing that. So we firmly believe, and we're going to spend the next little while creating a lot of collateral presentations and working with my wonderful team in the field to really convince the industry that, if you want to conduct IPM with rodents, you have to utilize IQ. Specifically to some of the rodents that we face, here's just some product ideas that look at, like for instance, with the roof rat, obviously the T-Rex is going to be your #1 product. Utilizing it with the tunnel, which is on the right side of your screen, allows you to place 2 traps and get them going back and forth. And then you have your Express IQ tray, which enables for monitoring and using baiting and traps. And then with your Norway rat, very similar. Obviously, the Norway rat is going to breed faster than the roof rat, so populations are going to skyrocket slightly faster than with the roof rat. However, probably Norway rat a little bit easier to control at most accounts than the roof rat is. So there's kind of that push and pull there on which one you'd rather be dealing with, and some of the products that we think would work best with that product as well. And then you have your house mouse. So as Chris said, I grew up in and around New York City my entire life, and it's been interesting living in South Florida, which is where I reside now. You just don't see mice, whereas every year in my apartment or in my parents' house, we wind up getting little house mice buddies for the winter, and then some places of work and places you visit, there's mice everywhere you go. So kind of living in an area where there aren't any mice is pretty interesting. And the reason I bring this up is I have a very close friend of mine who is kind of a legend in this industry, gentleman from South Africa, and he, in a previous company that he worked for, he was an executive there, and I was trying to convince him to trial the 24/7 IQ, and this was in 2019, so you're talking 5 years ago. He had an account in Miami that he could not get. He was like, oh man, you know, I have 150 multiple catch traps I have in this account, and I know, Patrick, I'm never going to catch a mouse. You know, what a ridiculous thing that I have to do this, but this is the spec. I would love to use these here, but you know, it doesn't make sense. Why am I going to spend 25 bucks on a multiple catch trap when I know it's not going to catch anything? And I said, that's precisely why you want to spend the $25 because you know it's not going to catch anything. And my reasoning to him was breaking it down and looking at the math. It's pretty easy statistical analysis, but if you are putting out, again, you know, in his case it was 150, and in my earlier example it was 100. So if you're putting 100 multiple catch traps out, and you know, because of where you are, or because of the climate, or because of the cleanliness of the account, or you know, because of et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that you're highly unlikely to catch a mouse inside of those things, but because of auditing bodies, or because of the customer, or because of, again, a million reasons why you have to use these prophylactic devices, is your technician is going to walk into that account each time, in this case Miami, knowing full well that there's not a single mouse in the city of Miami, forget about in that account, and they're going to bend over and weekly, this account was, because it's a high level account, and check every single one of those multiple catch trap and provide proof of service. Or they could simply utilize the 24/7 IQ, have their phone out of their pocket and walk around the account and take a 2-hour-long head-scratching journey of checking empty multiple catch traps into a 7-minute walk around the account. Now, I ask you, is that employee happier or more satisfied with their job? Of course they are. Is the customer like, hey, this is cool, I get all these alerts and proof of service that I know that you checked all these traps? Is his employer happier? Yeah, I took a 2-hour job that I was paying labor for and I turned it into a 7-minute job. Is the customer able to get better inspection, better monitoring, better customer service from the technician because the job is taking 7 minutes instead of 2 hours? Of course they are. You know, and then from a business model perspective, what you do with that 113 minutes is your business. Our business is to make rodent control products and make them as best as we can. Your business is taking those products and providing rodent control service to your customers and doing it in a business model that makes you profitable and enables you and your team to grow and provide financial security for your families and protection against pests for your customers. I know the level of intellect in this industry, and if you have 113 minutes that you didn't have before, there is value there, and you can figure out exactly how you utilize that 113 minutes that you didn't have before by purchasing these products. By the way, my friend actually used the products at that account, and we wound up getting a lot of support from that organization as a result of that, and they become, from a P&P perspective, one of Bell's top partners. So it's a good success story there. Next few slides will deal with the specific accounts and some of the challenges you are presented with. So, you know, commercial accounts versus residential, and how we think these products specifically can be utilized. Commercial, you know, setting thresholds, understanding historical trends, auditing bodies, and obviously the ability to get time back. Here's some products that we think would be very successful commercial accounts. I will say that our IQ product line has been very successful with companies that are utilizing them at commercial accounts. Residentially, we have had few companies utilize the products and have had success, but most of our success and most of the P&Ps who've utilized our products has come commercially. And I will say that from a sales perspective, a Bell sales perspective, these products have exponentially grown since Q3 of 23. So about a year, about 5 quarters now, we have grown exponentially. So in the last, in 24, for instance, 2024, we have sold, just in these 10 months, we've sold more IQ products than we sold in the previous 4 years that the product's on the market. So the product was launched in San Diego, 2019 Pest World. And from that moment until Happy New Year 2024, we had sold X. From Happy New Year 2024 through October 10th, today, we have sold X times 3. So that just gives you a feel of the momentum of these product lines. And where we've been successful is some large companies have decided, yep, we're going all in and we're utilizing these products, mostly commercial accounts. But we do know that the value is there, and hopefully some of you will see throughout this presentation that now is the time to utilize this and to get ahead of the curve still with utilizing IQ. And this chart, those of you who see me present before know I don't like to read off slides, so I promise you I won't be doing that here. So I'll give you a moment to kind of go through, and I'll also share this slide, and I have one for residential with Chris, so that Veseris customers will have access to it. And again, it just kind of goes through the different product lines, the different products, and where we think are some areas where you can utilize them at commercial accounts. So Chris, I will send this to you at the end to make sure that everyone can have access to it. And again, thank you for facilitating this wonderful opportunity for us. And there's our tunnel product. I utilize this in my own backyard. In South Florida, there's roof rats everywhere, no mice, but roof rats everywhere. So using the tunnel and placing these snap traps inside of it, one, provides protection for the traps, of course. It also, when the rat gets caught, they're more likely to be a little somewhat camouflaged. A large rat, the tail and feet will stick out, full disclosure. But you are able to put trap in areas where they're protected, and you can get one coming one way and one coming the other, because you can fit 2 T-Rexes inside. Yep. And then again, this is kind of a visual of what I've been talking throughout the presentation, right? Standing, point of view here with your phone out, you would be able to know if any of these 5 traps that you see in the picture had a catch. Whereas, and that would be instantly. So you're talking about a Bluetooth connection every 1.5 seconds, you would know, boom, okay, there's no mice in any of these 5 traps down the wall. Or if there was, you would know exactly which one had the catch inside of it, versus having to actually physically interact with all 5 devices as you do today. And then with regards to outside and bait stations, whether you want to utilize a technique like pulse baiting or not, there is inherent value in knowing which bait stations are getting hits, how often those stations are getting hits, and probably most importantly, what time of day and what day of the week those stations are getting hits, right? Knowing in the ability to trace back and figure out exactly when rodent problems spike can provide you with information which will help you save accounts, which will help you provide better rodent control service. You'll have better referrals, better customer retention rates, as well as the ability to continue to grow your business because of the level of service you provide and the knowledge with which you provide it. And then you can see how easy it is to gather the data on the phone. We chose green, red, yellow, just to mimic stoplights. We wanted to make this as easy as possible. So if your technician sees green, he or she knows go, right? That means there's nothing in that trap. I have the timestamp that proves that there's nothing in that trap for proof of service. I can move along. When yellow or red with the traps means there's a catch. There's a mouse in a 24/7 or there's a rat in a T-Rex. With the bait stations, it means that that bait station has had heavy activity. Yellow is a unique one, and that's for bait stations. That means that there's been a small amount of activity in that station. Again, we wanted to be able to easily categorize for the technician on site what's going on in those bait stations, what's going on in those traps. Green, yellow, red. Now for residential. Again, the biggest value I see in these products from a time perspective is attics, crawl spaces. But I think a unique one, which is yet to be explored widespread, is the ability to provide the customer with protection against rodents and the knowledge that that protection is working. One of the things that has definitely occurred in the market in my lifetime is the customer, especially residential customers, not wanting to interact with people providing services, right? And I also think that our industry uniquely has always equated time with value. And what do I mean by that? Well, one of the biggest objections that Sarah, myself, and our Bell teammates get when talking about the value of these products is people saying, oh, but I get paid for the amount of time that I'm at the account. So how do I explain to the customer that they have to pay more money even though I'm not going to be there as long? And I kind of go back to my construction example before. One of the reasons why I had those jobs during the summer is my father was a plumber, my uncles were electricians and carpenters. And that industry, again, a service industry, which requires expertise similar to pest control, has done a very good job of just equating getting the job done with payment, and even getting the job done more efficiently with higher payment. And what do I mean by that? If my father, for instance, got asked to go to someone's house to put in a toilet, he would give them a price on how much that would cost, and they would say, okay, great. And if he was done in 45 minutes versus 5 hours, if you gave the customer the choice, would you rather him be done in 5 hours or 45 minutes? 100 times out of 100, they're going to pick the 45 minutes. Get this guy out of my house. Great. Toilet works. Awesome. So my point is that other industries have done a better job than ours of equating thorough job done with payment and efficiency with payment over the amount of time spent. And I think that utilizing technology, upselling technology, and talking to customers and explaining how these products provide superior protection, our industry can move into that space of having the customer base, especially residentially, not equate the person is here for an hour, I pay X, person is here for a half hour, I should have X times 0.5. I think we can do a better job of that. And I think the residential market and utilizing rodent monitoring tools will be the way to do it. And we're confident we can do that together. Similar slide to the one for commercial, so I'll make sure Chris has a copy of this as well. I'll leave it on the screen for a moment. This slide goes back to what I was talking about earlier with regards to employee recruitment and retention. Again, you put yourself in the shoes of the person who you are asking or tasking with going out and conducting the service, and which account do you think you'd rather service, and which do you think you'd be more passionate about continuing to? I'll go through these quite quickly because I want to open it up to questions here in a moment. But other industries, I don't get asked as often as I used to by our CEO why I'm so confident these products will be successful because of the success we've had in 2024. But previously, I would get asked the question, why are you so positive, so optimistic that this technology is going to infiltrate our industry? And I would always give them the same answer, say every other industry has figured out how to utilize technology in a way that makes the people in the industry safer, makes them more efficient, makes them better, makes them more profitable. And our industry, the pest industry, is just filled with such wonderful, smart people that we are going to get there together. And so this slide just kind of talks about some of the other industries and why I was so confident that this would take place, and is taking place, thankfully. And then finally, the question of why in our industry is it so important, and why am I so confident? And here's the answer I would always give. My apologies for having state specific instead of province specific on the slide there. Thank you. So again, what are you paying for? All of these products essentially work the same, right? From rodent control perspective. So you're paying for time and data, and that is far more valuable than any current tool on the market. Resources we have available. Chris has 2 great resources she gathered for you in terms of collateral. One is our quick start guide. I would ask you all to take a look at it, download it, make sure you have it, because the first time you purchase these products, it's going to go through every single step of signing up for the portal, how easy it is to start and get sensing, and it'll make you and your technicians' job the first time they're using the product so much easier. And you can scan that QR code in front of you right there, and that'll take you to bellsensing.com and get you that quick start guide. There it is on the screen. We also have this handy time savings calculator, which you can plug in all of your own figures, and we'll go through exactly the amount of money and profit these products can provide you simply by making the investment to switch. And again, these figures are not driven by anything that we've researched. This is all based on putting your own figures in, and then you assuming how often you will save time at that account. 10%, 20%, 30%. The study we did at Bell came up with a 78% time savings. Perhaps you agree with that, you type in 78%. Perhaps you think, well, of course he's gonna say that, he's trying to sell us the product. I think it's only gonna be 40%. Take that in and kind of go through, use your own figures. But again, our blind study utilizing standard products to service our account, which is a 600,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Wisconsin, where we essentially bake cookies, right? We're a cookie bakery. We just put an added ingredient in them that makes them rodent control products. We took that and we serviced it as you would service it today without technology. And then we service it with the IQ products, and there's a 78% time savings there. There is our team in the US and Canada. Canada is represented, Veseris Canada is represented by Sarah, you see there on the screen. Sheila works in Canada as well, and myself. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Also, in the lower left-hand portion of the screen there, we have our Bell Sensing Technologies representatives, Seth and Brian. any questions about IQ, please feel free to reach out to them as well. And with that, I will thank you for your time today. I appreciate you all attending. Hopefully your time was worth and you received value for today. And with that, I will turn it back over to Chris for questions.
Patrick, thanks for presenting such great informative information. That was really, I even learned some stuff, and I've been in the industry a long time. So we're now going to turn our attention and answer the questions that were submitted. And so the first question is asking, what is the threshold of triggering an event? And how often should I expect false positive events?
That's a great question. So with the T-Rex, the snap trap, that is what we call a Hall effect sensor. So the way that sensor works is magnets. So there's a magnet on the tongue of the trap itself, as well as a magnet in the base of the trap. And when the tongue gets depressed and the trap closes, that will show that there has been an event. So with the T-Rex, you will essentially get no false positives or false negatives because it's simply telling you whether the trap is open or closed, okay? And giving you the timestamp as when that trap closed. With the bait stations and the multiple catch trap, that is a capacitive sensor. So capacitive sensor is simply touch. It's iPhone glass. If you have an iPhone or if you have a Samsung, it's the glass on your phone that responds to touch. We have continued to refine that sensor since we launched the product. At the beginning, it would pick up inanimate objects if it touched. It would pick up water if it touched. It would pick up small insects. Good news is today, we've been able to rule out all inanimate objects. So if you were to touch that sensor with a stick or a piece of pencil, or your technician hits it with something metal, it would not register an event. So no false positive there. Small insects such as ants, termites, beetles, things like that, no incidents there. Very large lizard or other mammal that's similar size to a rat or a mouse would cause an event, and I'll leave that to your decision on whether or not you think that's a false positive or not. But that's all that to say is false positives are possible on the bait stations and the multiple catch trap, but very unlikely to occur. And that is how you trigger an event on both the traps and the bait stations.
Thanks, Patrick. The next question is asking, if you had some non-IQ powered equipment in conjunction with IQ powered units, is there a way to manually add data to the reports?
So I think what they're asking is, can you manually add the traps that are non-IQ? You cannot. That is not capable. However, if you are utilizing a third-party software, so specifically PestPack in this case, you would be able to do that. So for those of you who do use PestPack, you would be able to service non-IQ and IQ devices on the same service in the same app. You'd have to use PestPack to do it. With the Bell Sensing app, it only enables you to add Bell Sensing devices.
Got it. This question is asking, what is the average battery life on the units? And when it's time for renewal, are the stations recyclable?
Yeah, that's a great question. So number one, battery life expectations is approximately 3 years. You will get better battery life on the indoor products. So battery is affected by a few things, mostly climate though. So it's how often is something used and what is the climate that the battery sits in. So a bait station that sits outside in Ontario versus a snap trap that sits inside in Ontario, the snap trap is going to get better battery life. However, we do expect the battery life on that station that sits outside to still be 3 years. So the snap trap, you probably get a little bit better performance than 3 years. The products are made, the bait stations are made out of recycled plastic. The rat trap is a glass-filled polypropylene, and the 24/7 or the multiple catch trap is a polycarbonate. I do not know all the local regulations in Canada with regards to recyclability of those three plastics. I do know that the bait stations are all recyclable, and I don't see any municipality not saying you can recycle 100% recycled plastic. Glass-filled polypropylene, sometimes there's different regulations on recycling that versus others, and the same thing with polycarbonate, just because they're such strong plastics. So that's the answer. I wish I'd be more specific, but you'd have to figure out your local recycling regulations with regards to those two products.
Thanks, Patrick. Here's a question that's asking, which bait is the most effective bait to trap and draw mice to enter the traps to consume and then be done away with them for good?
It's a great question. How about this for an answer? It's very site specific. We make a product called Provoke Mouse, which seems to work very well across different sites. Most times what mice prefer is whatever they're consuming at that account to begin with. They develop a taste for, meaning if they're in a high fat content diet, you'd probably want to put a fat on your trap. If they're in an environment where they're eating a lot of protein, protein seems to work best. With Provoke Mouse, we try to account for most of the macronutrients you would want in a diet, and so that's why we use that product. But I would say that trial and error, if possible, is a good way to do it. I've had people come up to me who swear by bacon, pepperoni, cheese, peanut butter, all kinds of things. A lot of times with female mice, it's good to use non-food items such as cotton balls, pieces of cardboard, anything that they might use for nesting materials can be successful. So finding out what gender you're being successful at capturing and then switching up based on that. If you're only catching males and juveniles, try cotton balls and try some of the nesting materials to try and catch females, because although my male brethren are not going to like this, we should all know that from a success standpoint, if you're only catching male mice, you're not conducting rodent control, and that population is never going to be under control, because we're just not as important as the females.
Okay, Patrick, here's a question that's asking, what does it look like when you label the different boxes or traps on specific jobs in the app? How customizable is it? And can you check them from your office without being on site?
Great question. The answer to question one, extremely customizable. So you can name the product whatever you would like to name it. We did put some helpful number sequencing in there, but you can choose not to use it. What do I mean by that? So if you name your first Express that you put out an account Express 1, the next one you scan will be called Express 2 unless you change it. Obviously, you might want to name it 53, and that's fine. You can change that. But we did put that sequentiality in there to make it as easy as possible. Can you check these traps from your office? No, you cannot. These are Bluetooth only. They are meant to be on-site efficiency tools and data gathering. The cost of utilizing remote devices is extremely high because of you need what is typically referred to as a gateway on site to be able to connect. So you need the trap, you have the high cost of that trap to have either kind of a LoRa or a cellular technology inside the trap. Then you need that trap to connect to a gateway, which is typically about $500. And then that gateway would then notify you at the office. So there are products on the market today that have that ability. IQ is not one of them, and that's because we wanted to provide these products at a cost that enabled you to use them at every single account. I do see eventually a need for that kind of remote technology, Chris, and when we're ready to launch it, obviously Veseris would be partner we'd be very eager to work with on that, and we'll make sure the industry knows that we have those capabilities at that point, but right now we do not.
Got it. We're at the top of the hour, and it's perfect timing because we have one more question that was submitted, Patrick, so we can end with this one. And they're asking, in what format is the IQ report generated, and how easy is it to add your CRM so you can send it to your customers and they can have a copy on their files?
Yeah, it's a great question. So you can place your logo on our report, which enables you to have that kind of look and feel that you would like. As far as the report getting sent to the customer, it's as simple as adding their email address on the portal to that account. There's a little box when you're setting up the account that says essentially who do you want the PDF sent to, and that you just type in their email address. So you would type in Chris@Veseris.com, and then whenever I finished walking around, that report would get sent to you, and then Chris would know, hey, Pat and Sarah were here and they were checking out these traps and we didn't have any activity. This is wonderful.
Perfect. Well, again, Patrick, thank you and everyone for attending today's webinar. Like I mentioned earlier, later today, you'll receive a follow-up email that contains a short survey and the recording of today's session. So we'd appreciate it if you would share your feedback. And on behalf of our speaker and Veseris, thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone.